What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are traditional fans with opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. Liar Game, episode 21. So in this episode, so how the revolver, like the basically the Russian roulette type game is that so basically the way the game works, it's like Russian roulette. So you have like now there's no actual bullet in the chamber, but you do get a sound that simulates that. So basically the trial runs, basically you can pass, spin a chip, and now if the next person now if the opponent passes, they have to pay two. And basically the price for passing doubles each time, and 5 passes happen, basically the pot's forfeit. So basically whoever pulls the trigger gets the whatever's in the pot. So now is the basically does the practice run, then with whoever the spearhead for of the other team is. So they try it out, and then um yeah, so and then basically so then, so Fukunaga then serves like the spearhead, so he goes against the spearhead who did do the practice round, and basically Fukunaga plays the guy to his hands, and yeah, so and then because basically like there's like a issue, so the way like Fukunaga will do is loading the bullets consecutively, so that he knows if he gets a shot, he knows, the next one's gonna, just pass on the next one. So there's that, like, there's some strategy involved. So he's able to play the guy to his hands, and then toward other teams to call a timeout, and then so Fukunaga uses like some eyelash dust to trick the opponent into thinking that there's dust from gunpowder on like the bullet chambers, like it leaked through, tricking the guy thinking where some of the bullets were. But yeah, so now notices a trap, and now which is surprising that she knows something before Akiyama does. We don't know what it is. That'll be next episode. That should be revealed. But yeah, so I like this episode. I liked how like the mind games being done, and since I guess there's not an actual bullet to chamber, it's not as messed up. So it's ain't like Squid Game, which Liar Game was a major influence on Squid Game. You know, which you could tell with like the mask that like the like the all the the basic security guards for the Squid Game wear, that's inspired by Liar Game. Now we'll see how long this goes, like the rest of this game. But yeah, I thought this was a good episode. Looking forward to the next one. The Insipid Princess Furtive Grab for the Throne, episode 8. So in this episode, so Lymphia is introduced to Fine, as like her bodyguard or whatever. While he so while Arnold and Leo are away with Elna, to do their out of country mission. So the day before, basic leaving, so Olympia, hangs out with Fine to basically, escort her around. And so basically to thank Elena for protecting Fine before Arl decides to, take offers to take Elna out for to eat. So Elna, it was meant to just be a simple meal, but like she decides to walk around wants to walk around the whole city, whatever. Now she wears a disguise so people don't recognize her. And I guess so. Arnold takes around women a lot. So some boys are, hey, where's you ain't with the girl with the big tits? And they bring out, they bring out, describe it, and Elna's like, how many women you bringing out here? Like Elna's obviously, I guess, into Arnold because she even struggles to figure out what to wear. So in this episode, um so and they basically eat like some fast food place or whatever, and then it rains, so they try to find Ellis says maybe they could go to this one little inn they would stay at when they were younger, and Arnold's like that's a bad idea. And I was like, well, she's like, well, I made my vows at night to go, so we're gonna go. Then Arnold's like, all right, let's just get over to Alicia Ways. Turns out it's a love hotel, so it's where couples go to have sex. Ella's like, oh, we already said we're gonna go in, and Arnold's like, whatever. And so basically, they just she keeps disguise on, so you know Arnold has taken women there before, and so so they each like take a bath, the other tries not to look. you know, Now there's a mirror, so and Arlo has to cover his face when he realizes that there's the mirror that could allow him to see Elna. So they all wait, basically they stay there till like the clothes dry, and then Elna asks what women has he taken there, and basically he explained that basically a lot of the prostitutes who be prostitutes the only thing they could do, he would take them there, just give some time to relax. Like he never actually did anything. So yeah, and then but he doesn't care if other people have like bad view of it, you know, and so basically like he doesn't care, especially since he has like friends and family that care for him. So then after that, Arnold, Leo, and Elna leave to go to like roading whatever, and out on the way on their ship, so they each have like yeah, and basically so then what happened here? So now Elna apparently is afraid of water. Basically, the reason she's afraid is because she almost caused Arnold to drown in the bathtub. So, which that bit is actually kind of funny. And so then, so so Elna's just like either seasick or scared of whatever the ocean. And apparently Leo has an issue with seasickness. So some ships from another country stop, and you have like this prince and so you have Princess I guess Eva and Prince of Julio is like stop. So basically they're there, they're leading this three ship fleet, whatever. Arl disguises himself as Leo and that, and basically so the two like royals they ask, for the Imperial ships to go a long way around. They don't basically say like they don't trust the Empire. They're by and Arnold's like, all right, we'll change course. We have plenty of food. And but Arnold's wondering why the royals themselves were leading the fleet, and he thinks, and then a storm happens, and it's like so weird. It's not a natural storm. Then Arl knows is that it's a sea dragon's causing it. So next episode they're gonna fight. He's gonna fight a sea dragon. So yeah, I thought this was a good episode. You know, Elna was freaking hilarious in this. Like I was laughing. Like and so and so yeah, like that bit was funny. Like and so we'll see how this sea beast fight, like this sea dragon fight goes. But yeah, I thought that was a good episode. Looking forward to the next one. Lanterns episode 2. So in this episode, so it's 2016. This whole episode's like in the 2016 portion. So you don't have any like the 2026 flash forward or 96 flashbacks, whatever. So Hal's dreams about Outpower. So Hal sends John to Coast City to retrieve a lantern. Now he has John practice summoning, like try to manifest. So John manifests some bird, and Hal, keeps the ring with him and tells John to keep the bird around with his willpower, and basically gives a plane ticket because John I guess isn't able to fly, whatever. So, and Hal had already bought a ticket, I guess, in case John couldn't fly. And so John goes there. Basically, he has to go inside his pocket dimension in Hal's mansion, whatever. Basically, some rich guy whose kid Hal saved bought him a house, whatever. So John goes to a pocket dimension, feeds some pet like plant, whatever that can eat, and then he gets the lantern. Now Hal so he goes to like this town meeting, whatever, and basically basically tell me about like upcoming football games, where they're gonna play or not. So Hal wants to get the corpses to, wants to get all the corpses for the mass shooting, and basically, and so then there's like some detectors that go off when the corpses are around when he's trying, and the corpses are butt freaking naked, so you see like dicks around, whatever. Yeah, so he's caught with the corpses, and Carrie confronts him, and basically, so Hal says he wants to take the corpses to William's ranch. Carrie accompanies him. William doesn't want to cooperate, and he has a sniper shoot Hal. So he has a sniper shoot Hal in the shoulder in front of the sheriff. How that does not lead to an arrest, I don't know. I mean, it's a warning shot, but still freaking hit him. Like, it hit him. Like, generally, intentionally shooting the gun in someone's direction would generally lead to some legal problems, regardless of relation. I mean, there's some issues there. So Hal is like unconscious, he recovers in the hospital. Basically, apparent Carrie says like she heard Hal say the name Sinestro in the sleep, so Sinestro being like one of Hal's biggest enemies in the comics, the Yellow Lanterns and all that. Hal doesn't want to talk about Sinestro, so basically, so then now John, after he feeds Hal's plant Earl, gives it beef and bicycle and finds the lantern, he's abducted by three men, and he tries to escape, but he's you know abducted again, taken to a black van. He's when a black van slams into him. Now John's brought before Anton, who's an alien that wants to know about manhunters, which was a synthetic race that wiped out their species. Now a manhunter, which is implied to be Abin Sur, you know, was sent to destroy the manhunter. They believe the manhunter's alive in Rushville. and basically it's revealed that the corpses were his men who were trying to find the Manhunter, and they released they give him 48 hours to find the Manhunter, or they will get personally involved in Rushville. You know, now the bird's still around, even though John does have the ring. Which the bird should not be able to manifest. So it would like Hal is the ring, so he should be able to manifest it, not John. Now John returns to Rushville, comes across Zoe. Zoe, he says if he knew that she was married, he wouldn't have screwed her. She says she's glad he didn't know, and that she doesn't regret, but that she does care about William. And he and basically so and then so John returns to the motel where he gives Hal the lantern. So Hal recites the oath very quickly, very nonchalant, in order to recharge his ring. And John asked about the manhunters, and tells him about Anton, even though Anton told him not to tell Hal Jordan. Now, John deconstructs the bridge. He goes to his hotel room. Now, Hal puts on his Green Lantern suit, so we actually finally see a suit, and he flies to Oa and he visits Sinestro in prison to ask about the manhunters. And Sinestro asks about John. So one thing about Sinestro, apparently Sinestro is, I guess, well known. So I guess Carrie knew about so, and Carrie in the episode mentions that she's from Gotham. So here's the thing. So her full name is Carrie Kane. So Kane is the last name of Kate Kane and Martha Kane. So so Kate Kane and a lot of in some continuities, she like in now it depends on continuity. You had in the 56 one, you had Catherine Kane was a love interest of Batman. Basically, yeah, created, so this is before the whole cousin thing. So Kathy Kane was, a love interest of Batman. Then, because had, Catwoman was a villain, Barbara, and you know, and basically, Batgirl was and Batgirl, the well, Batgirl wasn't around yet, because basically Betty Kane, who was the original Batgirl, appeared in 61. Yeah, there's actually been multiple Batgirls. So, and of course, you had um, you know, later after you had Kate, who is basically in a lot of more recent continuities has been portrays Batman's cousin. That's like the newer one, from 2006. So like that's the one that's like like a lot of times it's portrayed as like Batman's cousin, whatever. So then you had and you also had Martha Kane, you know, who is Batman's mother. You know, and so like now as far as whether or not the original Batwoman or is related to Martha Wayne, I don't know, but Martha's main name is Kane, and like that's like a something that so yeah. So basically, imply now since they're likely going to use the Kate Kane version because that's what a lot of more recent adaptations do. They don't really you don't really see the original Batwoman a lot. You don't like really in any adaptation these days. I mean, it's like how you also don't see Bet Kane, the original Batgirl. Really, at you're always generally gonna see Barbara Gordon. You know, like you generally like you're not like Stephanie Brown. You would see her as spoiler. You're not gonna see her as Batgirl or Robin. Um, and Cassandra Cain. You're generally not gonna see her as Batgirl or whatever. Like a lot of times you'll see Barbara Gordon is the Batgirl you'll see. So we'll see like how like so this is a tease for Batman. So like a possible relative of Batman debuted before Batman. We got Batman's relative before Batman. How freaking retarded is that? Like this is just a fact. Why do we not have Bat? I mean, granted, I don't want James Gunn to mess with Batman. That freaking fucking retard. Like with how he's doing this show. Now, Batman would fit a True Detective like story more than Green Lantern. I will say that. Like really do like a Red Hood like True Detective like story that could be so good with one point in time being like the Red Hood stuff, then another point in time being death in the family. That would actually be freaking cool. Of course, that would require good writing, which when it comes to serious storytelling, Golden Age characters, James Gunn is completely incapable of that because he's a freaking retard. He just does, irreverent humor. He really can only work with like, I guess C-list or D-list characters, whatever. Like, how popular he made the Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, where basically only really comic book fans were aware that the Guardians existed. A lot of people don't know. Those technically aren't the original Guardians of the Galaxy, but whatever. You know, yeah. So this is a I didn't like this episode. Like, and yeah, I do think there's a possibility that Zoe's a manhunter. That is a theory. Maybe Wilson, Williams like a manhunter. The fact that, or heck, maybe Carrie's a manhunter. Like maybe something happened that Carrie's a manhunter. That's the whole twist. But yeah, the fact we potentially got a relative of Batman before Batman, it is freaking retarded. Like really, how you not have Batman at this point? I mean, yes, you have, I don't know what the whole contract thing is with Matt Reeves, James Gunn, Brave the Bold. I don't know how, with with the acquisition, I don't know. But really, this one's like, don't even reference Gotham at the like, because that is gonna get brought up. Like, and James Gunn, I hope he is gone before he has a chance to mess with Batman, because, ooh, what are criticisms people have about a lot of the humor in I guess Lego Batman movie or in the Adam West show. He will make those look like serious serious. Like he'll make them look like dramas with how what he would do with Batman. Like he cannot be trusted with Batman. And so now, as far as Lantern's goes, you're the Manhunters. Okay, you're introducing the Manhunters. Okay, tying into I guess how Abin Seward died. Now there's I've seen some brought that maybe the ones who kidnapped John are the Red Lanterns. So yeah, you know so the Red Lanterns. They're they're powered by anger. They're led by Atrocitus, who in some more recent origins, for Hal Jordan, is the one that killed Abin Sur. You know, basically, so like, you know, so yeah, so I don't know if that's gonna be how they do it. So yeah, I was not a fan of this episode. I thought it freaking sucked. Looking for, I'll watch the next episode. I sure as hell ain't looking forward to it. President Curtis, episode 5. So in this episode, so Curtis has some vision, basically summoned by a witch named David, or to go to Camp David to test his presidential prowess. Now he's already dealing with it because like the party, we don't hear what his party is, but basically, I guess the leaders of the party within some secret room. I guess that's supposed to be a joke about the deep state, whatever. Basically threatens they want to like replace him, and so he you know deals with the vision of the witch named whose name is David. So and then so Banks and Doyle they go like basically there's a little camp, so you have like the lifers who are like are the old people who have been through a lot of administrations. They're not the ones who are necessarily tied to specific presidents. So you know basically the lifers joke that Banks is probably gonna be gone soon, and definitely once the old curse is done. And so but Banks is able to like befriend him anyway. He would like hangs like Curse's underwear from the flagpole there. And so basically, so the David tricks Curtis into quote quitting by doing like a vision of like his old boss that like he was like a dishwasher or whatever, and then so that allows David to escape, but then everyone has to like work all the other people at the camp. They have to fight off David. They like trap her again by basically owning up to all their problems, or whatever. And that's it. But yeah, I thought this was a decent episode. Basically like the deep state jokes were freaking funny. Where yeah, Curtis and Banks mocking Susan, who's I guess the lady on the phone, you know calling from like the party where, and so yeah, yeah. So basically the and you see like how like and it's like this whole subplot of Doyle speaking at a funeral at the end of like some rival of his named Trent or whatever. But yeah, so they definitely interesting. So yeah, I like the jokes in this. It's actually funny. If only the main Rick and Morty show would actually be funny again, because now it's it hasn't been funny for the most part. But yeah, I thought it was a decent episode. Looking forward to the next one. Well, that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.